Hello and welcome to the next video in the NCB's Home Science Resources. So I hope you've been enjoying the video so far. Today we're going to cover a topic that we haven't done yet, which is nutrition. So hopefully by the end of the video you will have an understanding of how you can eat a healthy and balanced diet and what 5 food groups your diet should be comprised of. So to do this, we are going to be focusing the video on the Eatwell guide, which is a resource developed by the NHS and Public Health England. We're going to go through what the Eatwell guide is. You might have heard of this, or you might have had it referred to as the Eatwell plate when you were at school. We're going to go through this and talk about the different components of your diet. And by the end of the video, I want you to go away and create the most creative, healthy, balanced meal you can. So incorporating all the 5 groups, go away and draw this out, annotate your meal and what it incorporates, and then send them. So email them, Instagram them, or tweet them to us. I'll go through and pick the best one, and the best one I will cook, eat for my dinner, and I'm going to film a video as to why this is a healthy, balanced meal. So I can't wait to see what you come up with. I'm really excited to see all of your entries. So get your thinking caps on and your creative caps on during this video. So for this video, you're not going to need very much apart from some paper to draw out your plate. So we're going to call this an I ate well plate. So a meal that you had and you ate really well during that meal. And you need some colouring pencils and some felt tips and any other crafty materials that you might have. So what is the Eatwell guide and why is it important? Well, the Eatwell guide is a representation of the government recommendations for eating healthily and achieving a balanced diet, and it splits our diet into 5 main food groups, and we should try and pick a variety of foods from each of these 5 groups so we get a really wide range of nutrients. Our diet should consist of the following 5 food groups. So first of all, really important one, fruits and vegetables. Second of all, carbohydrates and starchy foods. Third, proteins. Fourth, dairy products or dairy alternatives. And finally, fats and oils. So all of these groups should be incorporated in our diet in different quantities, which we will go on to now. So firstly, the big section of the Eatwell plate is fruits and vegetables. So we should be aiming to eat 5 or more portions of fruits and vegetables a day, with each portion being 80 grams. So that's 80 grams of fruit and veg per portion. And you might be wondering, I don't have any scales, what is 80 grams of fruit and veg? Well, that could be an apple, it could be a big tomato or 7 cherry tomatoes, it could be half a tin of chopped tomatoes, it could be 3 heaped tablespoons of frozen peas or other frozen veg, or it could be 4 heaped tablespoons of green vegetables like broccoli or kale. So as I've mentioned, your fruit and veg can be fresh, it can be frozen, it can be tinned, it can be dried, or it could even be a juice, but we say to limit the amount of juice you eat to 150 millilitres of juice, as it's really high in sugar and we don't want you to be consuming too much sugar during your diet. Next one, on to the next biggest group, which is your starchy foods or your carbohydrates. That could be things like rice, potatoes, bread, or pasta. So the last 2 options I gave you here are whole wheat varieties. So we had wholemeal bread and wholemeal pasta, and where possible we should be eating the wholemeal variety, so wholemeal rice, wholemeal pasta, wholemeal bread, or even starchy vegetables, so sweet potatoes, parsnips, swede, turnip. They're all examples of things that could be one of your 5 a day and also part of your starchy carbohydrates. So we should be basing our meals on starchy carbohydrates and fruits and vegetables. They're a really good source of energy and also vitamins and minerals, and keeping the skin on and having whole grain varieties means that we help to increase the amount of fibre within our diet. So moving on to proteins now, which were the 3rd biggest section of the diagram, and they include protein sources like meat, fish, beans, eggs and pulses. So for example, here I've got a tin of tuna steak, I've got some red lentils, which are really high in fibre and protein and also contain starchy carbohydrates, a tin of chickpeas and a packet of eggs. So all these foods are really good sources of protein, vitamins and minerals. And the vegetarian options, so like the chickpeas and the lentils, are lower in fat than the meat options and also generally higher in fibre. So we should be trying to eat less of the red or processed meat like bacon, ham and sausages. And we should be aiming for 2 portions of fish a week, with one of them being oily like mackerel or salmon if we are not a vegetarian. So moving on now to the dairy or the dairy alternatives. Now these were a really small part of the plate, but they are really important and they're not to be overlooked. As they're a really good source of protein and calcium for strong bones and also some vitamins. So here I've got some 1% fat milk. I've also got a packet of cheddar cheese. You should, where possible, try and get the lower fat and lower sugar versions of things like yogurt and cheese, so that you're not having too much fat within your diet. So the smallest section of the plate, and these should be used really sparingly, are the oils and fats. That's because they are high in calories, like this vegetable oil here, but we do need some fat in our diet, specifically relating to the fat-soluble vitamins. Where possible, try and have unsaturated fats like the vegetable oil, so that could be sunflower oil, olive oil, rapeseed oil or vegetable oil, rather than having saturated fats. And we're going to be doing individual videos on the different food groups, so on the carbohydrates, the proteins and the fats, to give you a little bit more understanding of their function in the body. So the beady-eyed amongst you might have seen another section on the diagram, which is the treat section. So maybe it's just because you love chocolate like me and you've seen that section on the diagram, and it's not actually included in the plate, and that's because foods such as bourbon biscuits and this packet of crisps are really high in sugar and fat, and they're not necessary in our diet and should therefore be eaten less often and in smaller quantities, and they definitely don't need to be eaten every day. Finally, it's really important to keep hydrated. So within the diagram you will see fluids, and it's recommended to drink 6 to 8 glasses of fluid a day, whether that's water, whether that is tea, whether that's coffee, or lower fat drinks like lower fat milk, then those are included within your 6 to 8 glasses. But where possible, try and have 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. And one other thing is checking the label of your product, and we're going to be producing a video about how to read a food package and what all that information means on your food packaging. But it's important when you're buying something to check the label and see if there are any hidden sources of fat, saturated fat, sugar or salt. If we were to look at my bourbon biscuits, you can see we've got lots of red on our packaging here to show that it is really a product for a treat. Whereas if you were to look at the chickpeas, for half a can of chickpeas, we've got all green traffic lights there. So we'll go on to that in another video. So one thing that you might be asking is it valid for everyone? Is the Eatwell guide for all of the population? Well, the simple answer is yes. Yes, it is. It's for everyone, regardless of your ethnicity, your weight, your gender. It also can be adapted, so if you're vegetarian, if you're vegan, if you're lactose intolerant, if you don't eat pork, for example, there's plenty of other alternatives. Like if you're a vegetarian, you can get your protein from things like chickpeas or tofu. And it includes things like soy milk and cashew milk if you are not eating dairy. So it can be adapted depending on your dietary requirements, and if you've got specific medical needs, then you can see a doctor or a dietitian and just see how it needs to be adapted for you. So we've done the theory now, enough of me talking, and it's time for you to go away and come up with your meal. So I want you to draw me out a big plate, any shape you want. We can have heart-shaped plates, we can have animal-shaped plates, whatever you think. And I want you to focus on what your meal is going to be, containing the 5 main food groups, and annotate on your picture what each item is on your plate. And I will go through and look at the best ones, and I'll get back to you as to which is our winner and which one I'm going to be having for my dinner. So the details for sending them are on the next slide of the video, also included in the PDF file, which is attached to the video in the video description. So I hope you enjoyed today. I can't wait to see your creations, and we will be back with another couple of videos on the functions, the sources, and the structures of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So tune in for them next time. Bye.